see, I'm standing outside of a police station in Leicester, where I've just been, and I've met a guy called Bill Knopp, who is a regional operative in police counter-terrorism, and a guy called Ben Smith, who works for Leicester City Council in counter-extremism. And I've just been in there to meet them, and I'm going to tell you an extraordinary and unbelievably sinister story about why that meeting took place and what has happened in relation to myself in the city I was born, here in Leicester. But it's a bit noisy here. And anyway, there's another place that is very central to this story, and I'll tell you the whole thing when we get there. Okay, well, this is the Athena Theatre in Leicester, and in April I was due to speak here in an evening event to a sellout audience, and everything was fine. My son Jamie booked the venue, and they had the usual approaches from the ultra-Zionist hate groups to try to get the event stopped, but the venue refused, and we carried on until this week, when Jamie received this email from the venue, which said this: "Dear Jamie, I hope you're well. We have had a visit from Bill Knopp, Chief Inspector Regional Prevent Co-ordinator. This is the guy who tells me today that he's involved in counter-terrorism. And Ben Smith, Leicester City Council's counter-extremist coordinator, who have expressed their concerns regarding your upcoming event at Athena. They have strongly emphasized to us the possible consequences of holding the event, both in terms of the venue reputation and the increased risk of protests from members of the public, which would require large police coordination and pose a serious risk to the health and safety of our patrons, staff, and members of the public." No, I'm not making this up. This is an email from here. To be honest, Jamie, when we met, I mentioned some of the emails we had received, and you did reassure me that this was not on a mass scale. It isn't. However, having spoken to the officers, who clearly scared the shit out of these people, we have been led to believe otherwise. Yes, led to believe being the emphasized words. Based on this, we regret that we have decided we can no longer continue to host the event on 20th of April 2018. Please send me your details, etc. I appreciate this may not be the outcome you anticipated. Oh, really? Oh, no, yeah. It's just what we expected. However, on this occasion, I'm unable to make an exception. She might have added, because I've just had the shit scared out of me by a counter-terrorism police officer and an anti-extremist coordinator. So, Jamie contacted the police, and a meeting was arranged at that building that I've just been at, between myself and Jamie and Bill Knopp and Ben Smith. And what happened at that meeting is not only extraordinary, it is deeply sinister and should deeply concern every person in this country, never mind Leicester alone, who believes in freedom of speech and freedom of expression, without which, of course, there is no other freedom. They're all based on that. So let me take you through the meeting. I found one of the people involved, Mr. Knopp. I found him very arrogant, just my opinion. And I found Ben Smith frankly clueless. And indeed, both provably were clueless about me and what I do. So, the first thing I asked them was, name one book of mine that either of you have ever read. Blank face, none, none. So I said, name the public events of mine that either of you have attended. Blank face, none, none. Then I said, I've been on a world speaking tour since the summer of 2016, which has included multiple events in the UK, Ireland, the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Sweden, Italy, Serbia, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Estonia, Iceland, so on and so forth. So I said, name a single event where one single person has protested or sought to disrupt it. And of course, they can't, A, because they know nothing about me, and B, because the answer is none. I asked them, and Jamie asked them, where they got their information from about my events and the information that I communicate. And he said, Mr. Knopp said, we can't talk about our intelligence. I had to bloody laugh. It was like a B-movie version of Spooks. We can't reveal our intelligence. Well, I said to him, I'll reveal it for you. Organizations that are trying to silence me because of the range of information that I'm saying, not just what they claim, contacted you, the council, and you, the police, when the Athena venue initially wouldn't cancel. And they told you a pack of lies, and you believed them. And as a result, you've scared the shite out of these people to the point where they've cancelled the event. And I said to them, have you been contacted by the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, the CAA, which is the main group that is trying to silence me, and many other people? They're targeting the Labour Party, for instance. And they said, or he said, Mr. Knopp, that they can't discuss intelligence. Well, do you know, that's the first time I've ever heard the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism and the word intelligence used in the same sentence. So that was a first. And that's how it went on. I asked them if they knew that the whole foundation of what I say is that we need to love each other and put aside these manufactured fault lines of race and religion and sexuality and income bracket, and come together and love each other, realize that we're all one consciousness having different experiences, and that if we don't come together, we will destroy ourselves, which we're in the process of doing. Did you know I said that that's the foundation of my talks? Blank faces. No word can be uttered. Totally silence. And so what we have here now, and this is the first time it's happened because we've gone to another level with this in terms of freedom of speech. What's happened up to now is ultra-Zionist hate groups have gone to venues, told a pack of lies. The venues have either immediately cancelled or then had more pressure put on them with tales of consequences. If they, like this venue was told by these people, tales of consequences if they don't cancel or the event goes ahead. But it's been an exchange of information between the ultra-Zionist hate groups and the venue. Now, in Leicester, we're having people from the police counter-terrorism unit and the council counter-extremism unit intervening in my freedom of speech, being approached by people that want to silence me, believing them and calling it intelligence when it's a pack of lies, and intervening to the point where this venue that was not going to cancel has cancelled. It's extraordinary that the police that's supposed to protect freedom of speech and a council like Leicester City Council that's supposed to protect freedom of speech are actively involved, as I'm explaining, in deleting it. And you know the great irony? The great irony is that a film crew from California is going to do a movie of my life. It's going to start filming shortly, and it was going to film my event here, which would have been fantastic publicity for the reputation of the venue and the reputation of the city. But now it's going to appear in the movie as a classic example in one story in this city of how far we are going down the road of an Orwellian society. So these people that talk about or warn this venue about their reputation. Oh yeah, waste. That's where this garbage should actually be taken away in. Counter-terrorism. So the reputation of all these people, including the city, is going to be connected to the destruction of freedom of speech instead of a very positive defense of freedom of speech, which was going to be one of the things that was going to be said about this venue because it refused to cancel. So what we're looking at here is a new stage in the destruction of freedom of speech in Britain. And of course, it comes at the same time that YouTube, i.e. Google, is deleting, for no reason, channel after channel after channel after channel of people all over the world who are putting out information challenging the official narrative. And now we see the police in Leicester and the Leicester City Council involved in actively being involved in causing this venue to cancel a public event. What about the more than 1,000 people, Leicester people, that were going to be there? What about them? No one cares. These ultra-Zionist hate groups don't care. But if we don't start caring and realize that my free speech is everyone else's free speech, because if I don't have free speech, no one else does, what they then call free speech is merely the freedom to conform, not to speak freely. If we don't, then Orwell's world is going to be upon us. In fact, it's coming in every day, but it's going to be upon us in a very short space of time. When you have the police involved, it's incredible in destroying freedom of speech. And I question them on what I'm saying. They had no idea. When I said that, they said, well, it's been reported, you're a Holocaust denier. I said, well, yeah, okay, reported. Where? Where did it come from? The same groups that contacted these people and got this venue to cancel. And when I pointed out that you will never find a more vehement critic of Nazi Germany, indeed, irony of ironies, what I'm pointing out in the event is that we are closing in very fast on Nazi Germany. Because what did the Nazis do when they came to power? What do all tyrants do when they come to power? They destroy freedom of speech for anyone who wants to expose and criticize them by burning the books. We have digital book burning now with organizations like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, and YouTube. And they ban the meetings, the public meetings of people that are exposing them. And here we have a counter-terrorism policeman basically pursuing a policy, by scaring this venue, of in effect encouraging them to think very strongly about allowing freedom of speech to take place. And that's what tyrannies do. But they can't see the unbelievable inversion of which they're a part of. And, you know, this council bloke, who is counter-extremism, he'd never occur to him that an obvious expression of the word extremism is destroying someone's freedom of speech. And by the way, doing so without ever discussing it with us or asking what I'm going to say, even that. Not that it should be any of their business, but even that, none of it. So we've now reached the point where the police and local authorities have entered the arena of freedom of speech destruction. For years, you know, 30 years nearly, I've been warning that this was coming. And I've been called a nutter and a madman. But people in ever greater numbers are realizing that what they once thought was mad, what they once thought was the ramblings of a nutter, is actually happening all around them, as it was always going to do. And in this case, we've now entered a whole new level.